Hey, I'm Christy Mitchell, and welcome to Unfudge Your Marketing, the show where we talk about what really happens when marketing doesn't go according to plan. Every week, I sit down with business owners and leaders to unpack the missteps, the experiments that didn't land, and the decisions they'd probably rethink if given a do over. But more importantly, we talk about what they learned on the other side and what you can take with you as you build your own business. Success rarely comes from getting it right the first time. It comes from taking action, making mistakes, adjusting, and showing up again and again. If you've ever wondered whether you're the only one figuring this out as you go, you're in the right place. Today, I am so excited to welcome Bennis to the show. Bennis built a solo SEO business to over 120K a year and is now transitioning into a personal branding agency. He shares what the journey from freelancer to agency owners actually looks like and why building a lean 2 or 3 person agency might be the most underrated lifestyle business model nobody is talking about yet. I can totally relate to that. And I am really excited to have this conversation today. So, welcome to the show, Bennis.
Thank you, Christy, for having me on your show. I think it's going to be a very fun conversation.
It is going to be a very fun conversation. We were chatting a little bit before we came on air about how you are located in Lithuania and how freaking cool is that? I have never had anybody from Lithuania on my show. I was trying to remember like overseas guests. I'll have to go back in the archives. I can't remember. But I will give Podmatch a shout out for connecting us. I'm so glad that we were connected through that platform and that I had the opportunity to bring you on.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually from a guest perspective, it's an amazing platform as well. I've had such a great experience on there. So, really
Yes.
recommend if anybody's listening and wants to try it out.
Yes. Same. Yeah, we'll give them a little infomercial here for a second. We are not getting paid to do this, but I will say when I first joined the platform, I joined just to be a guest on other people's shows. It was before I started my own show. And I just decided from a marketing standpoint, I wanted to get out there and be in front of other people's audiences. And so I joined Podmatch then years ago. And for the longest time, I just had myself on there as a guest. And now my show is coming up on 2 years old. And I was like, I really need to find some new people to come on my show. And so I was like, let me set up my own profile. And now I get connected with awesome people like you.
Oh, that's really good. That's really nice.
Yeah. So today, Bennis, we were going to chat about a common mistake you see clients making in terms of SEO and investing in SEO before their website is really ready to convert. And again, right before we hit record, we started chatting and I was like, oh my gosh, we're so aligned on so many things in marketing. So I'm really excited to have this conversation. But why don't you tell us a little bit about, how long have you been in business and how did you was this a problem you saw right from the get-go or something you kind of started uncovering the more you worked with clients?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been in business and SEO stuff for the past coming up to 12 years now. So I've been doing this for a very long time, and I mean, it sort of naturally happened after I worked with so many projects. Started noticing a pattern, and then at some point, I started, even offering different services or doing different things for clients because I saw that the main thing was, not the marketing, is that the funnel is broken, the website, the conversions are broken. So there are other things that need fixing before it's worth doing proper proper marketing. So yeah. So it's something I kind of discovered along the way.
Yeah. And when did you get into doing SEO work? How long ago was that?
So that was 12 years ago. Yeah, back in university.
Wow.
Yeah, back in university, in high school, I kind of found out different different business departments that there are, HR, operations, finances, marketing, the very basic stuff. And for some reason, really fell in love with marketing. And that was actually the time when digital marketing was really taking off. So once I went to university, I didn't study digital marketing. I studied business administration and stuff, but I was very interested in digital marketing. So I was looking at email marketing. I mean, Facebook advertising was really on a rise at that time. So we're just learning about stuff and just kind of randomly stumbled upon search engine optimization. And for some reason, really fell in love with that aspect of building something that can last for a very long time. Compared to ads, if you turn off the ads today, tomorrow you have no leads and stuff like that. And for some
Right.
reason, that specific thing of working on a website, working on something that has quite a long way of, after you finish work, you still get the benefit of all of the work that you put in. And that, I think, really kind of drew me in at first.
Yeah, I love that. I was actually just on a discovery call with a potential client before we hopped on for this.
Mm-hmm.
And at the very end, he said, "Oh, by the way, what do you do about, like, do you advise on paid advertising?" And I said, "Well," I said, "the way that I really approach it is we address all of the organic foundational pieces to your marketing first before we ever talk about paid ads, because I think it makes so much sense to kind of leverage those free channels, right? Optimizing your
Mm-hmm.
website for search and having a
Mm-hmm.
really strong social presence and doing email marketing and having ways for people to get on your list, and like having all of those core foundational pieces is so incredibly important. And I think it's, as a business owner, right? Like, you want to spend your money the wisest way possible. And so why not do all these organic pieces and see how far you can get with that, and then decide, does it make sense to enhance this with paid ads? So I love that you and I are really aligned on kind of those core foundational things that should be in place before we pay for advertising.
Yeah, exactly. It's really good to find like-minded people like that, because unfortunately there aren't many.
There
Like
aren't.
a lot of people usually think backwards in terms of marketing, and it's, in some ways, at some point I felt that, like at least like 20% of my job, maybe even 30% of my job, was trying to explain what is the right sequence of events and how we should do things rather than actually doing things. So education
Yes.
became a really big thing for me, after a couple of years of freelancing.
Yes, absolutely. So, right? I always like to think of those people listening to the show, and chances are they are business owners who are not marketing experts. And so, if they're sitting there like, yeah, I want to invest in SEO, but what is it that I need to make sure I have in place first? Like, what are some of those things that you talk to clients about? Like, well, we're not really ready for SEO. We need to do these other things first. Those kind of educational pieces that you were talking about.
Yeah. You need to understand very well, who are you actually trying to target, because I do see a lot of people coming to me and saying, hey, I know I need SEO, I need more traffic to my website and stuff like that. And but then I asked them, okay, so but who do you actually want to, like, who is your ideal client? What kind of leads do you want? Like, what is the goal of that traffic? And I do not always, but sometimes I do see people struggling to answer that question. So okay, so we then need to go back to the beginning. Okay, let's figure out who you're trying to reach, why you're trying to reach them. Is SEO the best platform to reach those people? So there's so many
Mhm.
questions that come up in terms of the overall marketing strategy when once you actually get to chat to people. So um, the best things to have before you start SEO is knowing exactly what type of people you want to get, what is the purpose of your website. So I do work with, like, keynote speakers, book authors, founders, and executives. And one of the most important aspects is to understand, okay, website is just one channel. They do have LinkedIn, they have YouTube, they have, these, like, go on podcasts and stuff like that. So what is the purpose of the website, and what do we want that to do? Is that just a business card? Is that a platform to drive leads? Is that sort of something, a mix in between? So there's just a lot of questions that need answering before we can even jump into SEO, because SEO strategy depends on the overall business strategy.
Yes. I love that you take that approach. And I do think, in my experience, you're exactly right. People like us are not that common because there's so many providers out there who will just take your money and, like, yeah, we'll do SEO. Like, it doesn't, they might not ask all these strategic
Yeah.
questions like you do or like I would. And so making sure that they're very clear on who their intended audience is and what is the purpose of that website. I think that is so incredibly important, because I've talked to some potential clients where they're like, yeah, people don't find me through my website. My website is really more meant like an online brochure. Like, that's where I send people once they already know about me. And so thinking in terms of what do you want your website to do, right? If you're investing in something like SEO, which search engine optimization, sorry if anyone listening didn't know what that meant, But it means, right, that someone's going to type something in search on their computer and arrive at you as the answer for what they're looking for. And so, like you were saying, not necessarily all, certainly not all industries and not all potential clients that you're trying to connect with would even be typing something into search to find you for those results, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's why it's very, very important to figure out like what's the purpose. Because like if the purpose is for a website to be a like a business card, that's totally okay. But we need to know that, because then we do a whole different approach to the SEO as well. Then we optimize only for your name, only for your brand searches. We don't invest into keywords or things or content that is not relevant for you. So yeah, it's very important to understand this, because then it changes what we actually do with the website and what kind of traffic we're bringing to it.
Right. So getting clear on who they're trying to connect with, what is the purpose of the website? What other things do you see business owners kind of overlooking when they're like, hey, we just want SEO?
Good question. I think it's not that people overlook, but sometimes people have people don't understand what SEO actually entails, and I mean, it's not their fault. It's quite technically complex once you actually start to dig into things. But I think the people have different expectations of SEO. There's a lot of potential clients and clients that I met where they think that SEO is just kind of some settings that I go in, I switch some buttons, like some settings on the website, and then that's it, and it works, and now everything should rank. So the I think the misalignment and the expectations is that it's a very easy fix, and why am I suggesting them to work with us for like six months or like a year to achieve the results? So that I think not knowing what to expect from SEO is probably definitely one of the bigger, not to say mistakes, but probably things that I need to educate clients on before we actually start working, because I didn't do that at the beginning, and that was a big mistake, because then there's a big misalignment where I'm actually working on the things that I know I'm going to bring them results and organic traffic. But since they expect different things, after a couple of months, we end our relationship because they didn't get what they expected. And I mean, it was kind of my fault for not communicating that well. I've learned that. I've learned my lesson. So nowadays I really try to understand what they want and also communicate how we are going to achieve that.
Yes. And I think that's so important. I have somewhat similar conversations with clients just in terms of like, since I'm not a lead gen agency, like I cannot promise you that I'm going to get you 10 leads next week. Like that's not the way organic marketing works. It takes time. It takes consistency, to keep showing up in the right channels that we talked about with the right message that we talked about. And it takes a lot of time to kind of have those things build up. And I know the same is true on the SEO side. So since I think SEO is a topic that ends up feeling like a bit of a mystery to most business owners, and as you're saying, they need a lot of education to fully understand what does this engagement look like to get you those desired results. Without getting like too technical and too in the weeds, what do you want business owners to know about SEO and kind of what has to be done up front? And then what does that ongoing engagement need to look like? What are those pieces that need to get done? And then how long does that really take to produce the results?
Yeah. I mean, one piece of advice I do suggest every business owner to have is if you, couple of things. If you don't yet have a website, or you're sort of trying to figure, maybe you're rebuilding the website from the new or something like that, it's actually a very good opportunity to, because like the basics of the SEO on the website are relatively easy to do, but a lot of people don't know about them, so they don't do them, and basically the results don't compound for them. Because if you have just the right basics in place for the new website, that already after 6, 8, or 12 months, without you doing anything else, will already benefit you quite a lot. But since those basics are not sort of being implemented. Then whenever sort of, let's say I come in or another SEO expert comes in to fix the website, we basically start from that zero. So
Yeah.
having just the foundational stuff in place is really helpful. But if you already have a website, kind of the same things apply here as well. There are a couple of things that can be done on it. Like, you don't have to do a full SEO strategy for you to have a big benefit in terms of SEO. If you have the good foundational setup for the new or for the existing website, it's better for the new website since you can actually control a lot more things cheaper. Since on the existing website, you might need to changes, you might need developers involved. So there's complications there. But still, if you have the foundational things set up, then you might only want to start your SEO journey a year or 2 years afterwards. But then in those 2 years, the SEO results, some of the SEO results will actually compound passively. So that's probably the biggest lever that the business owners can pull if they invest just a little bit in the foundational SEO stuff, so that whenever they're ready to pull a trigger on a full SEO strategy, then it's actually going to be very, very helpful for them, because the results after that will be much, much quicker.
Yes. I love that you're talking about this, and I know based on past conversations I've had with guests who maybe invested in new websites and didn't get what they thought they were. This is one of those learning lessons, I think, for business owners to consider. If you are going out and finding someone to build you a new website, this is a question you should be asking. Are they including foundational SEO in what they're doing for you? Because I think so often businesses assume, well, I'm getting a new website. So they're going to write all the copy. They're going to know my audience. They're going to do the SEO. It's a website. It's going to be everything. And that's really not the case.
Yes,
and you're
and I
nodding.
do, yeah, and I do want to warn people as well. I'm nothing against people who build websites and the agencies and freelancers, but sometimes like, not sometimes, often they also say that they do foundational SEO optimization for the website, and technically it's not really true, because what they do is like the bare minimum, and it's not really helpful. So whenever you are building a website, I always suggest business owners to get a second pair of eyes from a true SEO professional, not the website developer who does SEO for you, which usually is so basic that it technically it's there, but is it gonna produce any results? Very unlikely. So just invest a little bit more to have somebody else take a look at the website and actually apply that foundational SEO that we're talking about. Because I don't want to, like, people to confuse and think that, oh, okay, so when I'm building a website, I'm just gonna ask my developer to do that foundational SEO. And there are people that can do that, but in my experience, it's very difficult to find a website developer that actually has really good SEO knowledge as well.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. That's such a great point. And I talk about that a lot when I'm speaking with, prospective clients, in terms of like the value that I bring as an outsider looking in. Again, going back to the conversation I was just having with a potential client this morning, he was like, well, I already have someone doing like branding and some social stuff, and I have someone who like rebuilt our website. And he's like, but I know that like I'm missing things. Like, I know that it's not all there. I still feel like things aren't tied together. And so, he was kind of like, well, how does that work with like you working with them? And I'm like, let me be the bad guy. Like, let me come in and, look at and I'll be like, hey, this is what we need to do to fix the website. But having, to your point, Bennis, having that third party, like objective view on it, it might not cost a ton, but it could be really, really beneficial in terms of going from someone who might just have a general working knowledge of SEO, but they're really good at building websites, versus bringing in an expert SEO person to be that outsider looking in, making sure that you have all those foundational things. Because like you said, the sooner you get them implemented, the sooner you're going to start seeing those compounding results over time.
Yeah, exactly.
So Foundational pieces we talked about. And then what is that ongoing? If someone really is like, no, I know that I want to invest in SEO. I know that this is really important for my ideal clients to be able to find me. What does that kind of ongoing SEO work look like?
Mm-hmm. Without without going into the SEO comprises of so many things these days. I mean, nowadays you also need to consider AI search. This is also an up and coming thing. So there's a lot
Yes.
of things to kind of work on. But like if we're just thinking about the key aspects of what is important from the actual business owner perspective,
Mm-hmm.
content would be the one thing that is probably the ongoing piece that needs to be considered very, very, very strongly. Since nowadays with AI search and how it indexes content, also how Google indexes content, the easiest way for you to basically gather an audience and target people that you want is to have basically keywords that people are searching for and turn that into pieces of content. Now there is a lot of guidelines of how that page needs to be structured, what needs to be on that page, how to write that content. We will probably not going to get into today. We will be talking a whole day, but generally
Yes.
what you would need to know is if you can produce content on a regular basis, that is your biggest friend to rank on SEO and on AI search.
Yes. I love that you brought that up because so often if I teach like master classes and things, like a lot of times I get a question like, so do I really need to have a blog? Like, why do I need to have a blog on my website? And I'm like, well, the benefit is if you keep up with it and you post consistently and you are targeting the keywords that people would be searching for, then you're benefiting yourself over time with building up that SEO on your website. So that's really, really important.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also some people have kind of a wrong association with the word blog. I love to refer to this as content, since for some reason it whenever you mention blog, people are like thinking about some very cheap articles that people don't
Mm,
read, and stuff that is not important. But there is so many ways of creating content, of having actual resources that people share. So you need to create valuable content. I mean, that's number one thing. But
yep.
I do also try to educate people whenever we need content, is that this is not just some random blog we're going to throw in a couple of content pieces together and then that's it. No, it's something that should be something that we can share on your newsletter, that you would be proud publishing on LinkedIn, that you can
Yes.
send to your colleagues or your coworker on DMs. So it changes the way we think about content, and I think that helps them understand the value. Okay, we're actually doing something important here, because sometimes
Yes.
at least a couple of years ago when I was using the word blog, I felt that there's a lot of like some bad connotation to this word, and
Yes.
people are then refusing to do this particular strategy just because
Yeah.
of how they perceive blogs to be.
Yes. That is such a great point. So valid. And when I work with clients, I always talk about too, like there's so much opportunity to leverage your content throughout multiple channels. So to your point, if you create a blog or a resource or an article or whatever you want to call it, you create that one like longer form piece, and then you could also feature it in an email campaign to nurture your list. You could chunk it up into little pieces and create a bunch of social posts around it. So starting with that longer form can really help fuel all those other areas of your marketing so you work smarter and not harder on it.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're a business owner listening and you're not leveraging this is number one thing that you need to do. Yeah, this is exactly how, for example, we at Avium create content as well. So whenever, so we work with keynote speakers, and whenever they have a talk, like a 45-minute presentation, there is so much content that we can transform from that keynote. It becomes newsletters. It becomes actually 3 to 5 blog posts. It becomes LinkedIn
Mhm.
posts. It becomes like 6 to 10 different reels that we can post on LinkedIn and on YouTube and on Instagram. So there's so much to reuse in so many different ways. So those 45-minute ideas and talking points become like, a couple of months worth of content. So yeah, it's
Yes.
very, very valuable to think about content in that sense rather than just trying to figure out what to write about, sitting in front of a blank page.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm looking at the clock. I know we need to wrap up here soon, but I want to touch on one other thing that you said, which was don't create, and I'm paraphrasing, but like don't create a blog or a piece of content just to do it. You want it to be valuable. You want it to be something that is helpful and relevant and solves problems for that intended audience that you're trying to connect with. This is something I work very in depth on with my clients. And to get them, once we do my content strategy process, they then become excited to create content like, oh, yeah, that's a really great topic. Like, I want to talk about that. And I just wanted to make that point because you said it that, like, that's the type of content we should be creating, that we as a business are excited to create because we know it solves a problem that our audience has, rather than just kind of phoning it in, as we would say in America, or like, just kind of going through the motions and just putting out content for the sake of content. Like, if you don't care about it, your audience isn't going to care about it.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. That's the thing. Sometimes I like to frame this with my clients as like, imagine it's not the written blog post that you're creating. What would it mean if you're creating a video? If like what kind of effort would you put? How would you think about outlines? How would you think about, usually when people think about the video, they in like subconsciously they want to put way more effort into making it good. And I'm like,
Mm,
okay, now let's take that effort, let's put it into a written piece as well. So
yes. Yeah.
sometimes this framing also helps them to understand, oh, okay, this is how we need to look at written content and how it needs to be created.
Yeah, you're so right. That's such a great point. I love that you make that connection for them. That's awesome. Okay, Venice, our time has flown by today. I had a feeling that it would. As we get ready to wrap up this conversation, I want to give you the chance. Is there any last piece of advice? You shared so many gems with us throughout this conversation, but is there one last piece of advice you want to leave listeners with?
Uh, One, yeah, this is the thing that I've recently been sharing quite a bit. I realized that a lot of the various different success that I achieved throughout my kind of career as a freelancer and now as an agency owner was through experimentation. I've tried so many different things and avenues and projects, and from writing books to creating e-commerce stores, to trying buy businesses, selling business. So many different things. I mean, obviously not many of them are visible now online, which means not a lot of them succeeded, but through this trial and error thing, I was able to find a lot of things that work very, very well. So if you're listening, if you have a business, try to experiment with a lot of different things, even the things that might not seem obvious or worth doing. You never know when you will hit the jackpot.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's so true from a business standpoint and a marketing standpoint. A lot of times I have guests on the show who talk about, like, yeah, marketing it's a big experiment. Like, just got to keep
Yeah.
trying new things. And I think, sometimes that's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of business owners, but that's the reality of marketing and business, is that we always need to be experimenting. So I absolutely love
Exactly.
that as a final lesson. That's great. Okay, very lastly, Venice, how can people connect with you and learn more about the work that you're doing?
Avium.vip, that's the agency website. So if you need to look up there, I'm very active on LinkedIn. So my name, surname, you can find it there. And I actually document my journey of building an agency on YouTube as well. So if you really want to dig into all of that
Awesome.
stuff, you can find me on YouTube as well.
Very good. Awesome. In all of the places. Well, Venice, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show today. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your expertise and all the experience you have working with clients.
Yeah, Christy, thank you so much. Your energy is very, very cool. You're a very high energy person, and I really loved it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, everybody. Until next time.